Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar and 4 others have been killed after an aircraft carrying them crashed in Pune district today morning. A team that's probing the planned plane crash is already at the site in Baramati. Now, this incident occurred when a Learjet 46 plane carrying Ajit Pawar and others crash-landed in Baramati. The investigation is on and the cremation is expected to take place tomorrow. The Chief Minister of the state, Devendra Fadnavis, and the Deputy Chief Minister of the state, Eknath Shinde, have already met the grieving family members of Ajit Pawar. You're watching NDTV and we are closely tracking as to what really caused this tragedy. First up, the headlines. The last rites of Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar, killed in a plane crash, will be held with full state honours tomorrow, is what we understand. This will happen in Baramati, the stronghold of the Pawars in Pune district. What happened today morning? The flight that was carrying Ajit Pawar and 5 others took off from Mumbai around 8:10 a.m. is what we understand from official records. It disappeared from the radar around 8:45 a.m. There were about 5 people on board when the aircraft crashed at 8:50 a.m. That's what officials have told NDTV. Ajit Pawar was travelling from Baramati. He was travelling to Baramati from Mumbai and he was supposed to address public meetings as part of the campaign for February 5th Zilla Parishad elections. Ajit Pawar, 66 years old, Maharashtra's longest serving Deputy Chief Minister, has passed away in an air crash near his hometown, near his constituency, Baramati, that brings his political career spanning 40 years to an abrupt end.
Plane was coming from that side and it had to land from here, and that's the airstrip over here on the left side of mine. यहाँ पर आप देखें कि ये आपको जो तस्वीरें मैं दिखा दूं कि ये एयर स्ट्रिप है, यानी कि ये जो रनवे है और इस रनवे पर इस प्लेन को लैंड होना था। यहाँ पर ऐसे कोई सहूलियत नहीं है कि यहाँ पर एक जो अत्याधुनिक जो चीज़ें होती है वैसी कुछ नहीं है। एक मेकशिफ्ट यहाँ पर एयरपोर्ट और रनवे बनाया गया है क्योंकि बारामती में ऐसा कोई एयरपोर्ट मौजूद नहीं है, तो ये इस तरीके से ये रोड यहाँ पर बना हुआ है, वो रनवे मौजूद है। एंड व्हाट द ऑफिशियल्स आर टेलिंग अस दैट इन द मॉर्निंग देयर वाज लॉट ऑफ मिस्ट एंड द रनवे वाज नॉट विजिबल एट ऑल। रिमेंबर द प्लेन वाज कमिंग फ्रॉम दैट साइड। यहाँ पर ठीक पीछे जो मेरी तस्वीर देख रहे हैं उस जगह से इस प्लेन को आना था। पहले राउंड में जब ये प्लेन यहाँ पर आता है, ऑन द फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट द पायलट टू द एटीसी ऑफिशियल क्लियरली सेड दैट द रनवे इज नॉट विजिबल। पायलट ने साफ तौर पे एटीसी को कहा कि मुझे रनवे नहीं दिख रहा है, बहुत धुंध है। तो आई विटनेस हमें बता रहे हैं कि प्लेन बहुत नजदीक आ गया था एंड देन इट हैड टू मेक अ गो राउंड फ्रॉम दिस प्लेस। सो आफ्टर मेकिंग अ गो राउंड it came back again. Even then the pilot said that the visuals of runway are not clearly visible, and then there was no contact with the pilot and the ATC. Here you can see, and then it crashed at this particular place. Now the NDRF team is over here. There are also several other officials who are present over here. The area is completely cordoned off. Over here you can see how this particular airstrip has been made. It's a makeshift airstrip over here, and it missed the airstrip and it has crashed over here.
Well, Maharashtra Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis and Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde met family of Ajit Pawar. Ajit Pawar died today morning in a horrible air crash that happened near Baramati, which is the stronghold of the Pawars. Those visuals there of Devendra Fadnavis, the Chief Minister, and Eknath Shinde, the Deputy Chief Minister, meeting Supriya Sule, the Baramati MP and also the cousin of Ajit Pawar. She arrived in Baramati today afternoon and she was in Delhi for the Parliament session, for the budget session. That's Sunetra Pawar there, the wife of Ajit Pawar, visibly shaken, all of them. And also the governor of the state, Acharya Devvrat, was also there. Remember that Devendra Fadnavis also visited the site where the accident took place, where the tragedy unfolded. And from there, he also came to meet the family members of Ajit Pawar. The crowds there, locals with a picture of Ajit Pawar. These scenes are coming in from Baramati there. Remember that these are locals of Baramati. Baramati is often, Ajit Pawar is often credited with building Baramati into a constituency, into a model constituency. He is known for undertaking a lot of developmental works there. He has been an MLA from this place for over 8 terms. He's also been a 6-term Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra. Preparations are going on for a cremation, for a funeral that will be held with full state honors, is what we understand. The funeral is expected to take place tomorrow. And NCP SP Chief Sharad Pawar, along with NCP Working President Praful Patel, State NCP President Sunil Tatkare and State Minister Hassan Mushrif arrived today in the hospital, and they are taking charge of the arrangements there. Mortal remains of Ajit Pawar have been kept there for people to pay their tributes to their local hero. Remember, Ajit Pawar was known as the Dada of Baramati, somebody who managed the constituency for the Pawars, but also won from there, not just as an MP for the first time in 1991, but repeatedly several times as a legislator. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Modi has paid tributes to Ajit Pawar. In the morning, he did make a call to Sharad Pawar, NCP founder, and expressed his condolences. And now he has paid tributes to Ajit Pawar, is what we understand. Prime Minister Modi spoke to Sharad Pawar in the afternoon today, and he expressed his condolences. The relationship between Mr. Sharad Pawar and Narendra Modi is well known. They are seen as people who hold each other in high respect, and those visuals there of Supriya Sule, Baramati MP, and also Working President of NCP SP, with the family members of Sharad Pawar mourning the death of Ajit Pawar. Maharashtra Deputy Chief Minister and Nationalist Congress Party Chief Ajit Pawar has tragically died in a jet crash near his home city of Baramati. But the flight tracking data that we have shows that his business aircraft took off from Mumbai airport at around 8:10 a.m. today morning. And then 35 minutes later, it crashed in an area that was certainly hilly. And this happened near Baramati at around 8:46 a.m. today morning. The aircraft's flight trajectory doesn't show any abnormal patterns. This is what primary assessment of the ADSP data suggests. But what we understand is that 10 minutes into the flight, it achieved at an altitude of more than 6 kilometers. It was flying at a speed of over 1,036 kilometers per hour. And the place where the jet stopped sending signals is around 20 kilometers from Baramati airport, where it was supposed to make a landing. Now, remember that this airport is not for common people. It's only used for private and charter planes. Now, the bigger question that arises is that did the aircraft suffer any mid-air failure? Was there a technical glitch at the last minute? Remember, the Civil Aviation Minister has already said that there could have been visibility issues, but a team from the AAIB is investigating this tragedy. My colleague Saurabh Gupta joins us with more details on this. Saurabh, in the last few hours, several details have emerged on what happened in the last few hours of the tragedy, how the plane crashed. These are preliminary details. The investigation is still on. Speculations are rife. But as somebody who understands aircrafts and their working, what do you think could have happened, and where do you think things went wrong? Saurabh, if you can hear us, as somebody who covers the aviation sector also, can you explain to us, with all the data that we have with regard to what
didn't indicate that something was wrong with the aircraft till the very last moment. But when they didn't read back the ATC instructions that they were cleared to land on runway 11, that perhaps is the point where one can imagine that something was already wrong, because it is standard practice.
स्टेजच्या मागच्या बाजूला जे लोक उभे आहेत त्यांना विनंती आहे पवार कुटुंबियांना येण्याकरता.
Well, as I was explaining, till the very last moment, the pilots didn't seem to indicate that there was anything wrong with the plane. In fact, when they didn't read back the ATC's instructions to, for clearance to land, that was when things are suspected to have gone wrong. But before that, there was a go-around. Now, go-around is a standard practice in aviation. It can happen for multitude of reasons. It can happen because of glitches, change in wind direction, runway incursions, many reasons. But currently, all of those questions are what's on the minds of the thousands of supporters of Ajit Pawar who've gathered here at the Vidya Pratishthan grounds. Now, at the center of this ground, you can see there's a structure being constructed. That's where the last rites of Maharashtra's departed Deputy Chief Minister Ajit Pawar will be held. Here on stage, of course, you can see there are preparations for a salute, an official salute to the departed leader. And there are several leaders cutting across party lines. I can see Pratap Sarnaik from the Eknath Shinde-led Shiv Sena, Sunil Tatkare, who's of course a very senior leader of the Nationalist Congress Party. Then you also have others who are here, Zishan Siddiqui, and several other leaders, including Dhananjay Munde, all here. There's a picture of Ajit Pawar here, and there are, of course, his cabinet colleagues, his supporters who've turned out in huge numbers at the Vidya Pratishthan grounds here, where the funeral also will be held. Preparations are on for the salute as well. And this is, of course, the grounds where people are still trickling in. One expects that the crowd will remain here overnight, because the funeral will, of course, take place tomorrow. Dignitaries are expected here tomorrow. But you can see, of course, already a huge crowd gathering here to pay their last respects, to offer their prayers for Ajit Pawar, who tragically lost his life in that plane crash. And this is a massive blow, not just to the NCP, but to the NCP patriarch Sharad Pawar. Now, while there may have been differences between the Pawars, you could see the grief on Sharad Pawar's body language in his face when he arrived at Baramati. And of course, Ajit Pawar was groomed by Sharad Pawar. Of course, there may have been differences, but today, of course, you could see the grief amongst the entire Pawar family. The Pawar family is also here in a short while, and of course you can see lakhs and thousands of supporters turning up to pay their respects to Ajit Pawar. But going back to your question on the plane, now the plane did do a go-around. Go-around is standard operating procedure. If there's a problem in landing, if the pilots think that it's not safe to land, there was a mention of visibility issues, something that the Civil Aviation Minister also referred to. But beyond that, there wasn't anything that indicated that things were going fatally wrong or critically wrong, because the pilots were communicating with the ATC. Now, this is not a full-fledged ATC. This is a smaller airport, around 1,700 meters of runway. It's, of course, controlled by the flying, organizations, flying training organizations that operate here. But there was communication till the very last minute. But where the communication seems to have stopped is the part where the plane was cleared to land, and as it is in aviation, a standard practice, pilots always repeat. It's called a read back of the instructions, give it to them, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page and they've heard the instructions clearly. That critical clear to land read back did not happen, and within a couple of minutes the plane was on the ground, burst into flames, and leading to the loss of lives of not just the Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Ajit Pawar, but also the two pilots on board, and also the flight attendant and the security officer as well. So obviously a huge moment of grief for Baramati. Ajit Pawar had groomed Baramati just like his uncle Sharad Pawar did, and he's seen here as an accessible leader, someone who's missed by these crowds. You can see, of course, the grief on people's faces as well. Many of them spending a lot of time here, coming in since the afternoon in anticipation that they would be able to say their final goodbye to Ajit Pawar. And there, of course, are preparations on for the funeral here. At the center of the ground is the construction for the funeral pyre. Lots of dignitaries are expected to attend. The police, of course, salute is ready here. As the body arrives, there would be a salute. Remember, all protocols that are conducted in state funerals are also ready to say goodbye to Ajit Pawar. And for people of Baramati, it's a huge grief moment, a moment of grief.
But the people of Baramati, they're all set to bid that final goodbye to their Dada. Thank you, Saurav. We'll keep coming back to you for those very important updates. But let's also take a look at what really happened. How did the tragedy unravel itself? In the last 26 minutes of the aircraft, which had Ajit Pawar and 5 other people, all of them have died today. Today morning, the last 26, the final minutes of the aircraft, how did those unfold? At around 8:18 a.m., according to official data, is when we understand the aircraft, which is the SSK, established initial contact with the air traffic control system in Baramati. That's when the ATC was contacted by the pilot, is what we understand. The crew was advised to descend under visual met conditions. Remember that the aviation minister has already said that there could have been visibility problems. The investigation is still going on. The go-around, which Saurabh also explained, is often a process that's deployed by several aircraft, was initiated after the first approach to runway by the aircraft. But it's around 8:43 a.m. is when the aircraft was clear to land on runway 11. But at 8:43 a.m., just a minute later, there was no read back of landing clearance that was received from the crew. So we don't know if there was a last-minute technical glitch that was found, if there was something that made the aircraft go stuck in mid-air and go out of radar. 8:44 a.m. is when flames were reported near the threshold of runway 11. So that's how the tragedy happened. Meanwhile, we're joined by Rohit Chandavarkar, who's a senior journalist and a political commentator. We're also joined by Shekhar Iyer, senior journalist and analyst. Thank you both of you for being part of this broadcast. Rohit, there are so many questions that I want to ask you today. Both of you have covered Maharashtra politics. Ajit Dada Pawar often is seen as someone, there are two things that people say about him. Time ke pakke the, zaban ke pakke the. You know, what is your memory of him? I have just met him twice and thrice, twice or thrice, especially after the assembly polls. And he seemed like a very unpretentious, ambitious guy, very proud of his grassroots connections, and a very cool guy who basically knew what he was doing and quite unapologetic about the mistakes that he made. He would say that, yes, I did this wrong and I accept it. What is your memory of this man?
Yes, Vasudha, Maharashtra is in a state of shock right now. Let me first describe to you the situation in Maharashtra. Not just those who follow politics or those who are connected with politics, but also common people, common janta of Maharashtra is really under a shock looking at this, totally unexpected, sudden incident that has happened. Coming to Ajit Pawar's memories and my memories with Ajit Pawar or whatever, as you know, I've covered Maharashtra politics for about 35 years now. And during that period, I can say that when I started covering politics, Ajit Pawar was in his first term as member of parliament. He got elected from Baramati Lok Sabha constituency in 1991 for the first time. Ever since, he has always been a member of first Lok Sabha and then for the last 30 years, Maharashtra State Assembly. So got the opportunity to meet him dozens of times and all. And one thing that I can tell you is a man was completely straightforward and forthcoming. Yeah. He had certain reservations about media, so he never really mingled with media too much. He was not media friendly, I can say. That everybody, all Maharashtra journalists know very well. And he kept his distance from media. But barring that, if you talk to Karyakartas, if you talk to people, voters, janta, for them, he was totally accessible. He would start his day at as early as 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning and be available to people anytime throughout the day, except the time that he spent in government meetings or in government office. So very accessible. Right. Second thing I would say is, he had his roots in rural politics. And like you mentioned, he was not apologetic about, not speaking English very well, not being very sophisticated or urban, not really caring too much about the South Mumbai, South Delhi, South Bangalore crowd or whatever, and being more connected with the grassroots, the rural masses. He would speak their language. He would always connect to them more easily than the urban elite. And because I spent most of the time in English media, I could, meet him only because I would speak Marathi with him.
Right.
And he had some connection because he knew I'm originally from Pune, so we could speak on a lot of common things, etc. But that's Ajit Pawar, very rooted, very grounded kind of a leader.
Right.
Vasudha.
Right. Rohit, when I met him, I did ask this question as to, he's the only party in Mahayuti that Muslims vote for, right? Like, a section of Muslims do vote for NCP even today. And wouldn't it have made more sense for him to be part of the opposition? And he smiled and said, with time you will know why I made this decision. And now I do understand why he made that call. Shekhar Iyer, what is... how was Ajit Pawar different from Sharad Pawar? Because, people who are close to the Pawars tell me that there was difference. One is a complex man who's a strategist. The other one is a straightforward, completely unpretentious guy who's completely, who's rooted in grassroots politics. What do you think was the difference between these two Pawars? And the fact that, Ajit Pawar also died very close to Baramati, and that's also in some ways coincidental, and it reflects the fact in some mysterious ways that he was completely committed to the land that he came from, isn't it?
Definitely, Vasudha, there were a lot of things in common, but a lot of things were different between two. I remember traveling with Sharad Pawar to a part of Maharashtra way back in early 90s when he was part of the Narasimha Rao government. We were actually traveling to south. But when he heard about floods in the Nagpur district, he immediately got the aircraft to land in Nagpur, then sat in the car and we also joined him, and he just rode into the rural side, headed towards that area. I'm talking of Sharad Pawar. And he could stop anywhere and call out names, and he knew so many people. And I asked Sharad Pawarji, how do you know so many people? And he could call them out by first name. In the sense, here, grassroots politician, complete connectivity. At the same time, Sharad Pawarji, as I understood him, was both process-oriented as well as objective-oriented, goal-oriented. He would ensure the goal is achieved, but at the same time, the process is not disturbed to a great extent.
Right.
Whereas in Ajit Pawar's case, he was also a ground politician. He could remember a lot of his people by first name, never forgot anyone. He commanded a kind of loyalty. Those who were close to him would die by him, would do anything for him. But at the same time, he was more concerned with the goal.
Right.
Whether it was a project, it was a scheme, he didn't have patience for this red tape, bureaucratic roundabout, whataboutery, nothing. He would say, this has to be done.
So more outcome-centric, right? That's a very important point.
Outcome.
Yeah.
And also, Vasudha, if a thing could not be done, he would not hesitate in telling anyone.
Right.
Whether the opposition leader or his own ministerial colleagues or anyone, he said, this just can't be done.
Can't be done, right.
And he would say, this is the reason. In a sense, he was not, politicians normally tend to be, diplomatic.
Right.
They don't say no in the face.
Absolutely.
But he's the one who would say no.
So he's a very straightforward guy, straight shooter.
Rohit, yes, he would ensure it is done.
Absolutely. Rohit Chandavarkar, what do you think is going to happen to the NCP? I know it's too early to talk about this, but, there are different power centers there. Today also, the, visuals tell a very different story, because if today what happened was everybody rushed to 6 Janpath, right? I mean, Sunetra Pawar also went to Supriya Sule. So of course, Supriya Sule is one power center. The Sunetra Pawar, she comes from a political family, but she's been always in the shadows of the Pawar family, right? She's been seen as largely the Bahu of the family. There's Sunil Tatkare, the face of Konkan. There is, of course, Dhananjay Munde, who has his own set of controversies. And then, of course, the children there, the next generation there, Rohit Pawar, Parth Pawar. What do you think will happen with respect to the future of NCP? Where is the party headed? And do you think Sharad Pawar getting more power, because he will be relied upon as the only factor that will stabilize the ship now?
Very crucial question. Last 2 months I've been sitting on various Marathi news channels and OTT platforms to discuss how both factions of the NCP are coming closer because of compulsions, political compulsions, and how they fought the local self-government elections together. Elections are happening in 3 phases. 2 phases are over. 1 phase, Jilla Parishad election, is still to happen, which is happening on 5th of February. Now, we have been discussing a lot about how these factions are coming together. In fact, I was the one who predicted they're going to come together, etc. Now suddenly this has happened. So what will happen, Vasudha, is the bonding in the family will be very strong. A senior prominent family member who was the driving force of this Pawar family had suddenly departed. And my experience is that usually in regional party politics, what happens is if this kind of a death happens, rest of the family unites and forgets their differences. So you will see Sunetra Pawar and Supriya Sule coming together. You will see Sharad Pawar putting his retirement plans maybe on hold. We were predicting that he's likely to take a back seat and let Ajit Pawar drive the party. But now what will happen is Sharad Pawar will extend his tenure. Perhaps he will take a back seat, but he will keep guiding whoever is sitting in charge of NCP. My prediction is that Supriya Sule, Lok Sabha member of Baramati, NCP leader, may be asked to drive the party from here on. There's also Rohit Pawar, who's a young MLA, Ajit Pawar's nephew, who's in action. There are 2-3 others. But I think Praful Patel and others might not really, take a leadership role or take the driving seat. In such incidents, the party gets driven by emotions. I can predict to you that in the upcoming Jilla Parishad elections, the district council elections, there will be a huge sympathy wave in Western Maharashtra for the Pawar family, and they will suddenly do very well in those elections. Which they did not do in the recent municipal elections. So this will drive the party further for some time. And I think Supriya Sule, I can predict or foresee that Supriya Sule will be the one who will be driving the party for now.
Absolutely, yeah. And it looks like the case because she...
And then others supporting her.
Even today, everybody rushed to Supriya Sule, right? And, even for little things like logistics, it was 6 Janpath which was deciding, and that in some ways also showed us a glimpse of what is to come. Shekhar Iyer, what is your... what do you think is going to happen? What are your comments on the future of NCP? Also the fact that, there are certain other leaders apart from the family, who, be it Praful Patel or Sunil Tatkare or Dhananjay Munde, who are seen as loyalists of the Pawars, especially Ajit Pawar. What happens to those people, and also what happens to the family? Do you see them getting closer?
No, they have already got closer. They have realized that how that future of NCP politics requires to stand together. Though Ajit Pawar did not acknowledge that much, even for the Pune elections, civic elections also, he kept saying, this is about the elections. We'll see later when the questions asked about, unification. But Sharad Pawar, being a very pragmatic leader, he would want that any maneuvers that take place now to bring about a sense of unity in the organization does not disturb NCP's participation in Mahayuti government. Because Pawar knows at this stage, it is very important that for the cadre and for other leaders, whether they belong to Ajit Pawar faction or their own, that they would like to get closer to power. Because without power, revival of NCP is very difficult in those areas. So I see a possibility where Sharad Pawar may himself initiate discussions with BJP, as both at the central level, at the state level, to see that the entire NCP, both the factions somehow get to have a more say in the power arrangement. That's number one. Number two, there are leaders already in the Ajit Pawar side who were of the view that, if it was getting difficult for NCP the way they were existing following these results, many of them were even thinking of whether they should have a more tighter embrace with the BJP. Because without power, it is very difficult for NCP to move ahead, both the factions included. Therefore, I see Sharad Pawar taking a very, very pragmatic approach towards the future. Absolutely.
Rohit, very quick question, taking off from what Shekhar also said, the fact that BJP is also growing in these parts, although it was an NCP bastion and before that it was the Congress stronghold, do you also see workers having this dilemma now as to what really happens to their future?
See, the NCP has always been a power-friendly party, if I may put it in those words. You can see that Sharad Pawar is in the opposition or has been in the opposition when BJP is in power, but his relations with Prime Minister Narendra Modi have remained very friendly. You can see Sharad Pawar and,
in that context, Rohit, do you think Rohit Pawar is also inclined? He doesn't seem completely averse to the idea, isn't it?
So what you have seen, Vasudha, in the last 5-7 years is that though on public stage Sharad Pawar would criticize the BJP, etc., whenever Prime Minister Narendra Modi is in Pune for any public function or anything, you would see Sharad Pawar on his stage, and both sitting together and discussing things and laughing and all of that. So when it comes to future, I think there will be more more of this scene where you will see Supriya Sule also maybe extending some kind of hand of friendship towards the BJP local leadership in Maharashtra, which you partly saw today also at the hospital. And you might see the NCP at least not being aggressive against the BJP. I'm not sure whether they will really go and join the alliance. I'm talking about Supriya Sule and Sharad Pawar. Another thing I can predict, and I'll end my narration with that, is that I don't see the NCP Ajit Pawar group walking away from Mahayuti in any case. They will not do that. Praful Patel, Sunil Tatkare, Chhagan Bhujbal, all these leaders will stay in their positions of power. They will be with the BJP. They will be in the Mahayuti Alliance and NDA, and they will be with the BJP. They will remain there. The question only remains about what Supriya Sule and Rohit Pawar and Sharad Pawar decide. And my prediction is that they might be soft on all this, and they might be friendly with the BJP, at least we can say, for the time being.
Absolutely. Very interesting insights. From Baramati's cooperative bells to the corridors of power in Mumbai, Ajit Pawar's journey defined Maharashtra's alliance era in many ways. He has worked under several chief ministers from Vilas Rao Deshmukh to Prithviraj Chavan to Ashok Chavan to Devendra Fadnavis. Now, his death closes a chapter in state politics that's marked by ambition but also controversy.
Born on 22nd July 1959, Ajit Pawar was the nephew of veteran leader Sharad Pawar. He entered public life through the Sugar Cooperative Network, Maharashtra's traditional power nursery, before winning elections and rising rapidly within the Nationalist Congress Party. Holding portfolios like water resources, finance and planning, Ajit Pawar became known as a numbers man. Blunt, hands-on, and at times polarizing. Allies called him a doer. Critics questioned his methods. His political life was punctuated by dramatic turns. In November 2019, he briefly defected to form a surprise government with the BJP, a government that lasted just 80 hours. It was the first public crack in the NCP family. But the rupture became permanent in July 2023 when Ajit Pawar led a faction of MLAs to join the BJP-led government again, this time as Deputy Chief Minister. The move split the NCP down the middle. Months later, the Election Commission awarded his faction the party name and symbol, leaving Sharad Pawar's loyalists to rebuild under a new banner. Ajit Pawar's story was more than that of a powerful state leader. It was a mirror to India's changing politics, where alliances shift, families fracture, and survival demands reinvention. In life and in legacy, Ajit Pawar was never out of the game.
Welcome back. The Pawar family is completely shaken at the sudden death of Ajit Pawar. Now, the monumental tragedy has united the Pawar family in this moment of loss. Here's a report.
Shock, grief, tears, disbelief in the extended Pawar family after the tragic and sudden death of Ajit Pawar in a plane crash in the home turf of Baramati. As the news flashed of Ajit's death, Patriarch Sharad Pawar, daughter Supriya Sule, and Ajit's wife Sunitra rushed to Baramati from Delhi, where they had come for the parliament session. A visibly shaken Sharad Pawar landed in a chopper in Baramati and straight away went to the hospital to receive his nephew's body. Ajit was the son of Sharad Pawar's elder brother. Sharad Pawar was the political mentor, guru and father figure to Ajit Pawar before their bitter split in 2023. Ajit's wife Sunetra also reached Baramati, grief-stricken and heartbroken at her personal loss. Ajit's nephew and Sharad Pawar faction MLA, Rohit, broke down as he made his way into the hospital. A distraught Supriya Sule, Ajit's cousin, also reached Baramati. An inconsolable sister, unable to accept that her brother was suddenly gone. Just last month, Supriya had shared heartwarming videos of Ajit dancing with his nephew Rohit Pawar at the wedding of Ajit's son, Jay. The family that had gone through a bitter split in 2023 had started to come together in the recent month. The two sides joined hands for the Maharashtra civic polls, and Supriya and Ajit jointly campaigned in Pimpri Chinchwad and Pune. There were growing talks of a merger in the near future. But destiny struck in its cruelest way. With Ajit Pawar's death, the Pawar family and the NCP are at a crossroads. Will the tragedy bring the house of Pawars together, or will it lead to a battle for control and supremacy? An NDTV Bureau report.
Well, the funeral of Ajit Pawar is scheduled to happen tomorrow. People are paying tributes to him. All of this happening in Baramati, a constituency that Ajit Pawar had a very important role in building. This is seen as a model constituency. The locals are paying tributes to their Dada, Ajit Pawar, the Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra, who passed away today morning. Those visuals there of locals who have gathered for this grand cremation, this funeral that's expected to take place tomorrow. Several delegates are expected to take part in the last rites of Ajit Pawar. With that, it's time for a short break. More news and updates on the other side.